Hi, I'm Eddie Burke. I've been the bartender at the Hollywood Improv for 40 years, and this is my podcast, Eddie's Bar at the Improv. Hey guys, this is Eddie Burke. Welcome again to Eddie's Bar at the Improv podcast. I have got a wonderful guest that I've known forever, Mr. Michael Rapaport.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, thanks for being here. This is
Out of all your guests, you've known me the longest.
That's right. I think since you were 16 years old.
13.
13. Is that when you? Oh my God. Now I'm
83.
God, now I'm older than I thought I was.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. It's like, God, I remember you coming out here and sitting over there in the restaurant and hanging out. And this is just a quick little story. I don't know if you remember this, but you were over there one day watching a Knick game and people were having dinner and you just yelled out, "Oh no!" And what the fuck? And I went over to you and I said, Mike, you know, you just got to keep it down.
Yeah.
And a little later, you came over to me and you went like, you know, Eddie, I really appreciate you coming and talking to me. Everybody else goes to Mark and complains to me about Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so 13.
I was 13, 83.
Did you get up on the stage at that age yet?
No. No, I used to come out and visit my sister. 83, I came out and visited my sister Claudia. In the summer. It was August. The only reason I'm not a good date person. The only reason why I remember is because I had gotten kicked out of summer camp, and my father, our father in New York, was like, "You need to do something. You're not staying here during the summer." And and my sister let me come visit. I don't remember how long I came for. It might have been a week. It might have been 2 weeks. It might have been a weekend. But I didn't even know about the Improv or the club. She used to say the club, and you know, she said, "We'll go to the club tonight." And I came to the Improv in the summer of 1983, and you know, I was walking around, and I remember I walked right towards the back, or my sister took me to the back, and I remember the first time I saw anybody on stage, it was Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Oh, God,
was
what a
on
great
stage,
one.
and I just remember like seeing that. I didn't know what the Improv was or what. I was just, you know, visiting Mark and Joanne, and you know, then I would just, you know, hang out. And I came again that winter because I enjoyed spending time out here, and it was the first time I was out here, and you know, and then I would just keep coming out here, and then in 85, 86, I lived with my sister, and I lived with Joanne, who's my sister's mom, Joanne Astro, who's Mark Lano. It gets confusing, but I lived with them, and I went to Fairfax High School because I was getting in so much trouble in different schools. I remembered that. Yeah, so I was out here for a year, high school to 10th grade, and you know, like the Improv was like, you know, it was just it was home, and it was such a you know, it was such an interesting place and such an interesting time. Well, and at the time, as a kid, you don't think, you know, I thought I was going to be a basketball player. I mean, you know, I was like, all I cared about was basketball. Yep. I mean, you know, that's what I dreamt of doing. Sure. But, you know, I'd come here and, you know, I mean, the things that I saw and the Monday night disco night and the dancing and, you know, the celebrities that I'd see and everybody.
I don't want to interrupt you, but let's why did you get kicked out of camp?
I just was disruptive, man. I was a pain in the ass. Like, you know, you told me to keep my mouth down. Probably, like, I just was that all the time, and I just couldn't control myself and didn't choose to learn how to control myself. And just like, you know, like the periods between like 9 and about 18 for me were just like, I just was in my own world. Mm-hmm. You know, when I look back, I think I was just in my world. I wasn't like bad. I wasn't like, you know, I wasn't like fighting. Like, I don't have any great stories. I just was in trouble all the time, just always getting in trouble.
Well, when did you start getting interested in comedy? Because that was your first thing to do in the arts, right?
Yeah. I think, you know, because I would come out here and visit, it was in my head, you know, but I never thought I would do it. But being around it so much, it was in my head, and I loved Eddie Murphy. Loved him.
Who you got to work with later.
Yeah, but I mean, I fucking loved him. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, but I always missed him. I saw him one time here at the Improv, but I'd always be away or sleeping or not here when he'd come through. And you know, I would miss that. But I saw him one time here. He was upstairs eating at the Improv. But I wanted to be Eddie Murphy. Like, I didn't want to like be a comedian. I wanted to be Eddie Murphy, like the star that he was, and the leather and all that shit. And and then, you know, when I was like 17, 18, like I knew I wasn't going to be a professional basketball player. I knew I probably wouldn't play college basketball. Like I started thinking like, what should I do? What should I do? And I was like, I mean, I'll do comedy. I'll be like comedy. I'm going to be the next Eddie Murphy. So when I was 19 in the summer of 1989, and I had gotten in a lot of trouble in New York, like that year, 1989, in the spring, I came out here, and on a Sunday, they let me like, it was like a 5 minutes. They let me go up on a Sunday. Like they had like an open mic. Sunday was kind of a casual night, but it was good crowds. Like I went up on stage for the first time, 5 minutes, and I didn't really have an act. I kind of prepared stuff, but after the show, Gary Marshall, the late great director Gary Marshall, who did Pretty Woman and Flamingo Kid, and one of the creators of Happy Days, Penny Marshall's brother, him and his assistant. This is literally the first time I was on stage. They came up to introduce themselves. Said, we liked what you did. You come meet us and blah blah blah. I was like, oh shit. So I went and met them, but I was like, I'm gonna be a stand-up comedian. So like I was 19. I like moved out here. I was in this little apartment in Hollywood, $325 a month, and then that led me to keep going on stage. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and eventually it was like 7 minutes. I never got past like 10 minutes at this time. But because of the stand-up, I would get called in on auditions, like for regular acting parts. And then I was like, this is what I want to do. Like the first time I like read lines from a script, from a scene, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like this is what I can do. Like even more than stand-up and definitely more than any sports, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an actor. Like I'm going to this is what makes sense to me. Like it was just something about like the lines. And I don't know, it was just, I had never thought about it. I never like aspired to do it. I never like acted in any school plays. Like I was like, but as soon as the first time I read like a scene on a page, I was like, this is what I could do. And then I was just so fortunate to just get, little part in TV show here, TV show there. And then I got, a part in a movie called Zebrahead. And, and
right.
I mean,
that was your kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, and I was here when I was like, I was like here at the it was like a big fucking deal, man. It was a huge deal.
Oh, no kidding. Was Zebrahead before China Beach?
China Beach, then Zebrahead.
Right. So China Beach was kind of like your
12 lines on China Beach, the ABC show. And I mean, I was around here, like, it was like, I remember like Judd Apatow, and Ben Stiller, and Sarah Silverman, and Adam Sandler, and David Spade. And, they were always kind of like,
who's this kid?
Who is this kid?
Yeah.
What the fuck is this person doing here? And like my attitude. And I remember I was sitting right over there when they had the booth over there, and I was like, fuck you, I got fucking China Beach to Sandler. And to this day, when I see Adam Sandler, he'll go, China Beach. Because but for me, when I got that thing on China Beach, I was like, they call it anxiety now often. But, as a kid, you don't know what you're going to do with your life. I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. And, you're like, what am I going to be? Am I going to be a bum? Am I going to be able to do anything? And when I got that China Beach, like, I was like, I know I'm going to do this. And then I just was able to continue to work ever since. But it was such, I mean, I literally didn't know what I was doing. I was on a set and fucking clue. They don't teach you what a first AD is, a second AD is, what a second AD. You just show up.
Right.
And like, I don't know what, but I got the part and I did fine. And
yeah, you did. You think that's for you? Do you think that was the best way for it to happen?
It was the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It was the way it was supposed to happen. Like, I knew about action and cut. Like when they said action and cut, like that made sense to me.
Right. Yeah, I can just see you on a set the first time. It's like, yo, what the fuck you want to do?
Yeah, I just didn't know what I was such a, I was a kid, and
well, you've done over 60 films and numerous TV projects.
Yep.
You're also you've written a couple of books.
Yep, one book.
One book.
Yep.
You've done music videos.
Yep.
You've done like video games.
Yep.
I mean, your resume now is just all over the place.
Yep.
With a lot of good stuff.
Yep.
You have one thing that I found that I had never heard before, and you'll have to tell me if this is correct. But I think it was in 2017 or 18, you were on a plane.
Oh, yeah.
Going from Houston to Los Angeles. Yep. And Do you want to fill it in, or you?
So I was on a plane. I was doing the Big Three basketball league. I'm the sideline guy for that. So I'm on a plane. It's me, Baron Davis, Big Baby Davis, who's like the size of a fucking, door, and a couple other basketball players. And I'm in first class. We're all in first class. A smaller first class, just to paint the visual. But it's not a huge first class.
Well, when those guys are in it, it's small.
Yeah. But it's not like one of these huge planes. It's like middle of the country planes, shorter flights. And everybody was tired. It was like an early flight, and the guy sitting next to me at one point, I was sleeping. At one point, I kind of woke up and looked over to him. He tapped me, and he said, "Rap." And as I woke up, I saw a guy pulling on the handle of the door. So I got up first. My seatbelt was on me, and then I pulled my seatbelt, and I was like, got up, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?" And the guy was like incoherent, and he like kept grabbing the door. So I like pushed him against like the bathroom door. And and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I just was like, it scared me, because like you see somebody pulling at the hand, like that's. I woke up and saw like that.
Were you the only one that got
I
up?
saw it. The guy sitting next to me, but he was like kind of out of it. He was like, "You know what?" And I got up first, and then and then Baron Davis, L.A. player, he like popped up out of his seat, broke he just heard the commotion. He was like, "What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on?" I was like, "He's trying to open the fucking door. He's opening the fucking door." And then the stewardesses and the flight attendants, they came up there, and they were like, "What's that?" I said, "He's opening the fucking door." Because I was like, I saw it with my own eyes. And then when I pushed him against it, he went to go get the door again.
Nobody else, I mean.
It was so surreal, to see that shit. And apparently he was on some sort of sleeping pill or something like that.
Wanted to be on one permanently.
And they put him in the bathroom, and then the captain came out, and I told him just what I just said. He was opening the door. I saw him doing it, and the guy was like, "Yeah, he was grabbing the door." And then when I pushed him, he was grabbing the door again, And I guess he said later on that he thought it was a bathroom or whatever. But and I think he was on what is it, the Ambien. But when I saw that shit, I was like, it was such a weird image. He was like this at the door, pulling at the door. So, technically, Eddie, you said he's an actor, he's a director. You mentioned all these things, but technically, you should be saying American hero. Technically, I don't want to hobnob and
It's all right. I was going to bring that up, but after you said this, that's why I wanted to hear the story.
Technically, that should have been kind of started with that.
Okay.
So I don't take it as a disrespect, but
it's all right.
It is kind of like what they call me, American hero. And we might have been flying over Mexico at the time because we were in Houston, so it might be international hero.
All right.
I'm just saying.
I stand corrected from whatever I didn't do. So, as an American hero,
yes.
Was there any recognition involved? Did the president ask you to come?
No president. No. The pilot definitely thanked me, and it's
And
something that everybody on the plane will never forget. But I did not get any Medal of Freedom or anything like that. I haven't been the JFK
right.
things.
Mike, I think we're going to have to send this episode to the president and get you something, at least recognition. It's the great part to me is what you would do under fire. All of us always wonder, what would I do if this happened? And you never know until something happens.
Well, when you see that shit, you'll do something. Because I was so, and it was so surreal, to kind of waking up out of a plane sleep to see that shit. You just, it wasn't right. You know what I mean? It was what the fuck is going on? So it definitely caught me off guard. And there's maybe 10 of us that were in first class, maybe 10 or 12 of us. It was all people that were in the Big Three, and we all had this experience together. The funny thing is, Big Baby Davis, who's the biggest guy out of the whole group, was he probably 300 pounds. This fucking guy slept through the whole thing.
Well, I personally want to thank you for your service there.
Thank you. I appreciate
as an American international hero.
Thank you. And when you put the podcast up, please say Michael Rapaport American hero,
Yes,
actor.
definitely
please,
will. So you
please.
want that first.
Please.
American hero,
I'm not going to
actor,
say I want it
author,
first, but it should just be in there.
aspiring basketball.
Something.
Yeah,
Should be close to the top.
You have your own podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, and which is called?
The I Am Rapaport podcast. I Am Rapaport stereo podcast.
Okay, and it's judging by the title, it's about Rapaport.
It's just commentary about what's going on. I call it disruptive podcasting. It's all, it could be. It's everything and anything from, the last couple episodes I've been, there's been definitely a few mentions of The Irishman, the movie. My anticipation of it, seeing it, my things I like, things I didn't like about it. Obviously there's always sports. It's just like a sort of a disruptive diary of what's going on in my mind, in my world, in my thoughts.
Okay.
Immediately, it's like I just try to get it out as much as quick as possible.
So if you want to listen to a real American international hero, listen to Michael's podcast, I Am Rapaport.
I should call it the American Hero podcast. I should interview
I'm
other
gonna
heroes.
call you on that. It's like, I can't believe you're not doing that.
Right, like you're an astronaut. Like I understand, you've done these things. I saved a plane. Like let's talk about our experiences as different heroes, like pilots who, stuff like that. Like,
God, look what happened. Sullivan
exactly
landed a plane. You stopped a crash.
I saved a plane.
Yes, exactly.
Right, like let's vibe on that.
Yes, it's like we'll think about that. We'll get to all right. All of your time here and like being related to Claudia and being I guess technically the stepson of Mark and Joanne. Who Mark is one of the founders of the Improv and very, very responsible for its rise in the 80s. How did you feel hanging out here? Was it just like matter of fact for you because you were the son or stepson and brother of Claudia and Claudia already had a bit of fame at that point with Knots Landing?
It was just like I said. It was just like a place. I didn't know anything about it until I got here. Obviously. I loved movies and loved actors, and I would see everybody here. And as a kid, that was exciting. From Joan Rivers to Rodney Dangerfield to Bruce Willis. There was a period of time he was here all the time. To Keenan, to Robert Townsend, to watch those guys get successful. To, everybody in between. Arsenio Hall. Arsenio Hall took me to a Laker game in 1983, and he was friendly with Magic Johnson.
Oh God!
And I was in the Laker locker room, and I was tripping because I was such a big basketball fan. I was tripping out off of that.
And you still are.
Yeah, I was. That was a big deal, but it was just kind of as a kid, you're just kind of especially at that age, you're just here, you get comfortable. I remember, sometimes I would come back behind the bar. Sometimes you'd be like, get up out, I didn't know, I got so comfortable. I can make my own Coca-Cola, you know what I mean? And, I remember you were like, but I just was here, I was, I was
just part of the scenery.
I was just here, and but what I saw and,
Do you have memories of something specific that you might have seen that was kind of out of the ordinary back in the day?
I'm sure there was, I was so unaware of drugs. You were probably, because you were an adult, but the drugs. I'll tell you the funniest story. You won't remember this, but in 1983, New Year's Eve to 1984, I was here. You were working. I was 13 years old. This is the 80s. I was tall, but I was 13 years old. Right. So I was 5'9". Mm-hmm. I was 13. I wasn't I had fucking, hair on my face. A woman was trying to take me home with her, a gorgeous blonde-headed woman. And all, at first I was I want to, and I remember she was kissing me and all this shit, gorgeous. And I was by the bathroom. And Mark came over to her and said, this is a 13-year-old, right? And she's like, I didn't know, because I had told her I was 18. Like, I didn't know what the fuck was I going to do. I had never had sex with her. And she was like, I don't care how old you are. I would love for you to come home and spend the night with me. And like, somehow or another, it didn't wind up happening. As it should, I was 13 years old. It's like a 21-year-old woman. I was 13.
I hate to break this to you, but I do remember this story.
You remember it? Because
I do.
It was fucking crazy.
I think Mark had told me back then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was...
It was like, she's trying to take him home?
13.
13 years old. He won't even know what to do.
13. So that was a big deal. I remember the disco night. I remember like the round table, like just seeing people that were on TV that I just was, I just would trip. I would ask. I had a period of time where I was big into autographs, so I'd get autographs from every fucking, but Gary Shandling. Joan Rivers and Rodney and Roseanne and watching the comedians, over. I mean, I've told people, I said, like I've seen Dom Herrera, I've seen Kevin Pollak, Charles Fleischer, Robin Williams over and over. And at the time, I'm not thinking I'm studying like people are. No, I was just here. Like I wanted to be. I'd rather be watching basketball, but like you just were here, so you'd watch Charles Fleischer, you'd watch the Funny Boys, you'd watch. Dom Herrera, you watch Kevin Pollak, you'd watch Paula Poundstone, you'd watch, Ellen DeGeneres, you'd watch them over and over and over and over. And I remember being like, they do the same thing over and over and over, like as a kid, except for Charles Fleischer, he'd always do different, and, Robin Williams and Rodney Dangerfield on the stage with a fucking, with a bathrobe, but it wasn't like I wasn't like, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be a comedian. I just was here.
It wasn't something you were in awe of at that point.
No, but it was going inside me somehow,
Who were did you have idols, any comedy idols as you grew up?
Only Eddie Murphy.
That's it.
That was it. Like
that's enough in its own.
But that was like, it wasn't like comedy. It was like, I wanted to be him, but like, like even like Jay Leno, like even these people on the stage, like the pictures in here, like these people weren't here. Like Aziz Ansari, I see Chris Rock wasn't here, Sandler was here, but I had already been here for 6 years coming in the summer. Like these people that I see, Dave Attell, Sarah Silverman, like I had already been here as a kid, and just watching it. And then when I was 19, I was like, I want to try to do stand-up and comedy. Like, I don't know, just my relationship to comedy and around it was just, and it's a unique thing. It's just a weird thing, But like, everybody was so nice to me, and even like, if I would piss people off or annoy people, I was a kid. You just like piss people off, like, just get out of the way, because it'd be busy. I'm not aware like it's busy. I'm just like here, I'm here so much.
Yes, you were.
A
lot.
Yeah, and then when the place opened in Santa Monica, I remember, when I came out here in 1999, like I'm 19, I just learned how to drive. Like I had a job. Like I got a job that summer, like shipping stuff, not shipping, like bringing stuff from here to the other Improv and taking stuff to. Yeah, it just was. I don't know. It was like a weird thing. It was like a weird, fun, unique thing to have. But when I did that first show. And to get that acknowledgement that quick, to go on stage for 5 minutes, and somebody say, "Yo, come do." Gary Marshall was like, "Come read for this play. I'm doing this play," And I read for the play, and I didn't get the play, but like to have that acknowledgement,
and not just the acknowledgement, but from who it was from.
Yeah, and Gary Marshall was a big fucking deal. Like
always, yeah. How old were you when you got your first acting job? When you did
21.
China Beach? 21.
21. Like
so you were a seasoned veteran.
It was quick, and it was from like I did 8 minutes here on a Monday. Like I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't like, they'd give me like 8 minutes or 5 minutes, or I'd MC, which would be not even like what an MC to me now is like. You do 10 minutes, like you get up there and be like, all right, everybody, make sure it's 2 drinks and don't say anything, and then I do a couple of jokes and then I bring the people up. And I think that's what it was from the casting director. This casting director named John Levy. Him and his son were there, and his son I think was a little younger than me, but his son was like, "You should have that guy come in and be on China Beach." And then he, I got called in for an audition for China Beach. I went and got China Beach, which was Dana Delaney, who also used to come here. And I got the fucking part. But I mean, when I got that fucking part in China Beach, man, I was like, the relief that I had that I could be something with my life was so.
How did you start after that aired? Did you start getting recognition from people in the sense that, oh, I saw you on China Beach?
It was Zebrahead. When I got
Zebrahead.
Zebrahead, like to get a starring role, that was the second acting job I got, to get a starring role in a movie that Oliver Stone was producing. You know, that was like, and then I did Zebrahead in the summer, and then we went to the Sundance Film Festival, and I think it was 93, Sundance Film Festival, January 93, and like, that was like, yo, I was there, and like, Lawrence Fishburne was there, and Harvey Keitel was there with Reservoir Dogs, and, you know.
So how did you feel now that it's like, hey, Michael Rapaport?
I'm going to be an actor. I was scared shit still. Like, this business is so inconsistent to this day. Mm-hmm. You know, it's probably like the last 3 or 4 or 5 years maybe, where I start to be like, this is what I'm doing with my life. This is never going to go away. I'm a professional actor. There'll always be work. But there's such a vulnerability being an actor. You know, the elite few where you could pick and choose, or you've done a show where you make, you know, millions and millions of dollars, you know, But for me, like, you know, but as a kid, like, you know, when I got those parts, like, I was like, at least I knew, like, I was going to do that for the time being.
So did you ever actually study with anybody?
Never.
Never
Studied.
Didn't take classes or
Joanne,
anything?
Asho, and Mark were my acting teachers. Like, they were.
Well, that's.
They are fucking, like, I
Yeah.
tell anybody, like, yo, you want to get an audition? Joanne and Mark, but particularly Joanne, we would practice those auditions, and she had me ready for these auditions. And I had such a sports mentality with auditions. My mentality was, fuck you guys, fuck everybody else. It was almost like a fight. It was like, fuck everybody in here, fuck these people. I'm going to go in here and get this fucking job. And you'd not get more than you'd get, but I had such a focus from sports, like. And it was basketball. I should have never had this attitude from basketball. It was like, fucking kill or be killed. Not that, like, the thing is, an actor, like, there is no kill or be killed. Like,
right.
You can go in there and be great. They just might want somebody with dark hair who's 5'6". Mm-hmm. You could go in there and be great. They might want somebody, you know, who doesn't have a New York accent. Or you might have too thick of a New York accent, or not enough of a New York. So much of it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
And I've learned that 20, 30 years later. But the vulnerability of an actor or a comedian or performer, you don't know.
Well, since you've never studied, what, you know, how do you feel when about that vulnerability? That, I mean, you're talking like you're using terms that you would learn also in an acting class, but you also, Mark Lano and Joanne are you know,
they're real actors.
Yeah, they are, and
Mark, they understand it.
Yes, so you know, you couldn't have gotten anybody better.
No, they believed in me when I said I wanted to do it, and they saw that I was fearless. Like, one thing that I had, I was fearless. Even when I was 19 and doing comedy and I wasn't that good, I was not scared.
Right.
Like, I wasn't scared of it going bad, which is probably the thing you need the most, more than skill. I mean, skill's
Yes.
obviously but at first you need to not be scared.
Right.
And that I was not scared. Like, I was not scared of failure.
That goes a long way. Because
in comedy.
Well, it also goes a long way in an audition, because if you can go in there and just say, here it is, you know, and like you give them your best, you do your best, you know you've done your best, and you leave.
Yeah.
You know, and they can see that. If they see the hesitation, they know
you're not
you're
ready.
not there, right? So all that stuff for you is just really come naturally.
It came natural. And I wasn't scared. And I would have little goals set up for myself in the audition. Like, I would just have, you know, like a big audition for me was when they were casting the movie White Men Can't Jump. Mm-hmm. Now, I had done Zebrahead. I might have done True Romance. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. You know, I knew in the back of my head I wasn't going to get the part. But they had for White Men Can't Jump, they had basketball auditions, which I knew I'd be good at.
Why did you feel that way?
Because I knew I wasn't a big enough name.
Oh, okay.
Like, I just knew, like, there's no way I'm going to get I wasn't ready. I was too young. The character, I think, was written as like 28. I think I was 24, 23, and I was boyish 23. I just knew that I wasn't right. But the process was, and I definitely did Z-Braid. I think I did True Romance. So they were like, okay, they'll let you come in. First, you have to do these basketball auditions. So they had the basketball auditions at the Y, and every fucking actor you could think of was there. From Woody Harrelson to Matt Dillon to Timothy Hutton to, every black actor, playing the Wesley Snipes part, to comedians. And, they just wanted to see if you could play basketball decent. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember who it was, but we were like, just like the person who was defending me, we were like, just let me do my thing and I'll let you do your thing. Like, just kind of, so you could just score a basket.
Right.
They just wanted to see if you had some sort of basketball skill. So I got through that part, and then I auditioned, and they had like 25 pages of sides, which is abnormal.
Yes, that's a lot.
And my agent told me, they said, listen, if you do well, she's going to let you keep going. So my goal was to do well so I could at least read all the sides. Like I could at least read all the scenes. And I was in there, and it was this great casting director named Vicki Thomas. And I kept reading, and I did really well. And she's like, let's do it again. So we did all the scenes again. And for me, that accomplishment was a big deal. For like those goals in my head, like to have that as the goal, not so much get the part, but to like, if you do well, she's going to let you keep reading.
Right. The fact that she asked you to
keep
do it
going.
again, she felt you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, and like, and like for them, like, casting directors, they can so much fuck with you in so many different ways, but like that and I've told her this since, that acknowledgement of letting me do the scenes over and over, it gave me such confidence, you know what I mean? Like, and so when I finally, that was like, it was like, that was a big deal, when you're that young. That was a big deal to like, like, and the kind of like, well, I did really good. Maybe I will get the part. But it wasn't that. It was, you did good in the audition.
Yeah.
It was like,
you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish in that audition.
I knew I wasn't going to get that fucking part in a big, I think it was a Sony movie. Like, I knew that. You kind of think maybe a miracle could happen. I know how to play basketball. That was my takeaway, was that. Like, that's something I'll never forget.
And that's a big takeaway, because I've had a casting director, actually, who I talked with, was actually said to me once, like, actors really think that it's us against them. It's not.
Yeah.
We want you to do good.
It makes their job easier.
It makes their job easier. It also makes it possible for them to get another job, because if they bring in actors that can't handle the part, then it's like the director or whomever sees the cuts goes like, why? Right. And so that's their thing too. And casting directors really are, you know this as well as I do, they really try to love you.
And they're the gateway. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're assholes, whatever. But when you're young, you just have to. I think, like for me as an actor, like you have to be careful, like with people, dreams and hopes and their sensitivities and the vulnerability of actors. But I never really had any bad experience with casting directors. They were always good, if not fair, with me, and that shit formed me, and it shaped me, and like.
Well, that's just my point, is that most casting directors are that way. And I think most of us, when we go into auditions, or a lot of us go in like, they're going to try to screw me up. They're going to skip a word.
Right. Like they're doing it on purpose.
Exactly. And it's not that at all. They want you to do great. And if you do great, like you were doing.
They look good.
Yes. And you go on also to do it a second and a third time.
Yeah.
When they see nothing, it's, you were great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
That old line. Let's talk about your basketball. I mean, you have been playing quite a bit in those NBA weekend celebrity games. I know I've watched one or two, and your skills are pretty good. Are they NBA like?
Oh, hell
I don't know.
no.
It's like, but the fact that you are an international American hero is something that kind of, I guess, they know, and they keep calling you back.
Yes.
Is that the thrill of a lifetime the first time you did that?
Come on, man. I mean, Eddie, you see me in here I come here with my fucking basketball, my other friends who played ball. For me to get invited to those games and play, like the first one was like Gary Payton, Chris Webber, and those dudes. Like, I was like giddy, you know. So
oh, I can imagine.
Man, giddy, you know, because that was like, even when I was acting, like that's all I wanted to do was be a basketball player.
Sure.
So, you know, to get invited to those as an actor and then be around those guys
and get a couple of MVPs too, didn't you?
MVPs and just, you know, to be around professional basketball, like that was my dream. You know, that was impressive to me more so than, you know,
getting zebra head.
Yeah, like I mean, that was like such a because it was a dream unfulfilled. You know, like I didn't get that. So there's still kind of like a, to this day, like there's kind of like, you know, like a. It's like a thing.
Maybe they'll call me. And,
yeah.
You know,
I still have dreams of playing basketball, like actual dreams that I'm playing professional basketball.
No, I can see you sitting behind the Laker bench and somebody getting hurt, and you going,
"Why not?
I'll go
2 minutes. Let me get 2 minutes on the court."
That's it. You know, that's the whole thing. I can get dressed in a flash.
Quickly.
You know, no problem. But
quickly.
That being your dream, it's a lot of kids' dreams, without a doubt. But again, having it sort of fulfilled in the sense of these celebrity games is got to be, to me, the epitome of what you want. You know, like in acting, I don't know what to compare it to. Maybe it's winning an Oscar, maybe. But for you to get on, when I watched these games with you, I'm going like, damn, that's what I want to do. You know, I want to be in that game. And I go like, I think I'll live this vicariously through Michael Rapaport, you know.
I had so much fun. I mean, the last one I did was at Madison Square Garden, and like, you know, I wanted it to go
was that the first time you played there?
Man, that shit was crazy to me. And I didn't play that good. My knee was all fucked up, and I was like hurting and shit. But, you know, like, I made a shot in Madison Square Garden during the game, and it was like, because as a kid, you know, like New York and playing ball in New York and dreaming of playing ball in New York and Madison Square Garden, like even to play in this, I get it. It's a fucking stupid ass celebrity game. The clock's running the whole time. There's not like, you know, the score, like we play 40 minutes. This game's like 23-17. You're just like, but I understand it. But like, there's just a part of you and a part of me that is like a kid. I don't know. You know, I mean, that shit doesn't go away. You know, it's like as you get older, I realize it's like you think
Don't
like.
Don't point to me when you say as you get older.
No, but you know, like as you get older, you think like, oh, well, I'm going to be an adult. Like, obviously you're going to be an adult, but things stay in you from your childhood. They don't go away. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. And like, and that in regards to basketball, like it'll never go away from me. Like it's just who I am.
Yeah, I know I asked you that twice, but I also am so into sports.
Yeah.
That like, you know.
What's your favorite?
Well, basketball and baseball. I played on a basketball team that came in second in the country in the YMCA Nationals 100 years ago. And I played semi-pro baseball and stuff like that. So, I mean, I love sports.
Right.
I've always been into it.
Right.
That's been my thing. I always had a dream of being a professional baseball player and an NBA player, but being 5-0, it's like, you know, that would never happen anyway.
Right.
But it's like, so when I hear you talk about it, and with the enthusiasm that you talk about it, it's like, it's great.
I love it.
You know, that's what it's all about in life, is getting those little moments.
Yeah.
With everything.
And I just love learning about, like, I went to a Clippers game the other night, and I was with the president of basketball operations, this guy Lawrence Frank, who used to coach the Nets. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was just like asking him like little shit about, like, just there's so much, you know, like when it's done at such a high level, like the way the game is played and the way they, you know, they scout other players and the little details of it, and you know, I just respect it so much. It's, you know, it's not like, you know, where we're doing it. It's like, you know, shooting around and you make professional sports. It's like they're professionals. They don't.
There's a lot more to it than the average person thinks.
Hell yeah, and at that level, so I love it. You know, I'll always love it. You know, and you know, I'll always just be a fan of it. Like I'm a fan.
Do you, so far, acting wise, do you have a role that's been your favorite? Is it at all, or do they all kind of like, you know, you put everything into what you do and you go like, you know, each one is just why I'm doing it. You know,
I mean, I think, you know, there's different ones that you know resonate with certain people, but you know, there's been different parts, different movies, different challenges, different things that are intimidating as an actor, and as much as I've done, you feel like you haven't done enough or you haven't done anything, and you just want to keep going, keep learning, keep challenging yourself, keep trying to get better, keep trying to improve, because I love acting so much, and I love the art form and the medium. I can't stand the business of it. The business aspect of it is it's two separate things, you know. Mm-hmm. But I love, like, in between action and cut, like I still get that same thing like I got when I got China Beach. Like between action and cut, that has not gone away.
And it's like crossing over the line on a basketball court.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of shit that goes into getting the part and getting to set and the waiting around, which I hate. I've done it for so long. Like, I hate the waiting around, and I hate the in between setups and all this. But between action and cut, like, that shit to me is still euphoric to me.
Yeah.
I love it.
I have got to say, like, sitting here talking to you, I feel like I've raised you.
I know, I've been here. I mean,
it's like the kid that I used to see over there that I yelled.
Can I get a cheeseburger, Eddie? Yeah. Can I get a Coke, Eddie? Let me get a Coke, Eddie.
I know, and now I listen to you and talk like an accomplished person. I don't even want to say an adult.
No, right.
Because that adult is whatever term. But I mean, you've been doing so much and so many different things. I mean, you've even directed a documentary.
Yep.
What was that all about?
Fucking hard, man. Documentaries are fucking hard. They're fucking challenging. Like the group, A Tribe Called Quest, hip hop group that I've always loved. They let me have the opportunity to make the movie. I didn't have any clue how hard it would be. I really wish we had made a movie about the making of the movie, because I think it would be a great learning experience and a great learning tool for other people that want to make documentaries. But it was very challenging. But I knew that the story should be told. I knew that their story needed to be told, and that people would respond to it. And I loved making it. I made a couple of other. I got to do a 30 for 30, which you can imagine was great on the Knicks, the 73 New York Knicks.
Oh yeah,
which was cool. And
that was with Frazier and Monroe and
and that whole time in the NBA, and making documentaries is not for the meek. That's the one thing I'll say. Like, you can't go, well, I'm gonna make this. You have to be like, I have to tell this story. And the ones that I've done, I were gravitated to. I had to tell the story, and I did it. And they're fucking hard, they're challenging, but when they come together, it's because you're making something out of nothing, essentially.
Yeah.
It's not a script, you don't have a blueprint. I mean, you kind of do, but it's just so out of your control. But when documentaries work, they're special.
They are. Well, 30 on 30 is a tremendous accomplishment.
Yeah.
Period. But your first one was the other one on the hip hop group.
Yep.
What was their trip? What was unique about them?
Their music was so ahead of its time and so influential and so unique. And so groundbreaking in regards to hip hop, and their dynamic. If you're not familiar with Tribe, it's kind of like the Rolling Stones. It's kind of like the Keith and Richard dynamic, and they just made such good music that was it's so timeless. And their group dynamic was kind of like Group Dynamics 101. Like, ego and jealousy gets in the way, and they were very sensitive about articulating that on film. But like, groups break up.
Sure.
Whether the only one that hasn't is the Rolling Stones, and they can't fucking stand each other. But whether it's the Jacksons, the Beatles, or NSYNC, they go through their shit. So it was a fun movie to make. It was challenging. But I'm really glad that I was able to do it.
How long did it take you to do it?
This shit took me 3 years. It wasn't 3 years straight. Like, I was shooting this show called Prison Break. So I would shoot the doc, take a little time off, shoot, edit. It was so hard. I mean, I learned a lot, but the story was kind of unfolding while I was doing it.
And how about the 30 on 30 about the Knicks? How long did that take?
That was a year. Like, so I had done the Tribe documentary, so I learned more. And because that story was past tense, it was a little easier to tell. Like the story had already been, it had been told in the past. So like it wasn't sort of happening while I was shooting the movie, which was something with the trial movie. So that was easier, but it was still challenging because, you know, doing a thing about a basketball team, you know, you have, you know, we got 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, 10 guys to tell their story, and they're all telling it in different ways, and they all have great stories and great point of views, and you got to kind of zero in like what's going to be the best point of view for these 90 minutes that we have.
And how do you go about not being a fan right there? I mean, all these guys.
I was
I'm
a fan.
Sure, yeah.
I was a fan. Like you know, I was cool with them and shit, but like I was tripping out. Like I was like, you know, I'm interviewing Phil Jackson. Like I was like tripping the fuck out. Like, you know, like the fuck is going on here? You know, and you know, and talking to them and getting the basketball insight and the stories and the stories of the NBA and the stories of what the league was like back then, and you know, Marv Albert, and you know, hearing him, and like just like sitting there having a conversation with Marv, and his voice is like, what the fuck is like? Am I listening to a radio, or is like this? Like his voice is so.
I'm going to tell you a little off. I almost stopped the Knicks from winning the championship. Years ago, I was driving on 93rd and Columbus Avenue, and there used to be a little place called the Cellar. I don't know if it's still there or not. It was underneath an apartment building. And I'm driving with my girlfriend, and out of the Cellar comes Walt Frazier and whoever he was with in his long fur coat, you know, how he always wore those things. And I saw him.
Oh, shit.
And I went, oh, shit, look, it's Walt Frazier. And as I'm doing this, my car is turning at the guy. And
Are you serious?
I am serious. I must have missed him by 5 feet,
That's funny.
maybe. There would have been no 1973 championship.
That's so funny.
But he was cool about it. He just went, you know.
I mean, yeah, Walt was cool. I mean, it was cool, you know, doing that film. And
did any of them surprise you in any way in terms of how they were? Not necessarily bad, good, whatever. Just like it was easy to talk to. Or?
They were all so forthcoming, and it's such like the time of their life. You know, it's like their youth. You know, they're older guys. So like, you know, talking about Clyde when he got drafted, and he wasn't a heralded guy, or talking to Phil like Jackson, like, you know, he's done all the shit with the Bulls, all the shit with the Lakers, and all the, but like that was. Like you know, you sit here and I talk about my China Beach. That was their China Beach,
right?
You know, and so getting these guys that are so revered to talk about the time of their life, their youth. You know, it was cool to see that because they're like kids. You know, like they're and that was when like they were just.
Most people don't know that Phil Jackson was even a basketball player.
I know.
We used to call him Sloppy Phil. That was the whole thing, with his arms and legs flailing all over the place. But that year, that group of guys were like just a trip. I mean, you had Monroe, and you had, I guess, Bradley and Cazzie Russell, and whatever. And these were like, wow.
Yep.
You know, and not even to mention Frazier.
Yep.
And what was the other guy with the little...
Barnett, Dick
Barnett.
Dick
Barnett,
yep.
You know, it was a trip.
I got to interview all of them, man. And it was a different time, man. You know, like, you know, hearing their stories and like what their dream of being in the NBA looked like. It's not like not like now where you're like, I'm going to be in the NBA, I'm going to have a sneaker contract, I'm going to have, you know, $100 million. Like, it wasn't that. That didn't exist for like these guys. Like, I interviewed John Havlicek. He had a fucking job during the off season.
Yeah.
Like a second job. Some of them had jobs during the season.
Really?
You know, yeah, man. Selling insurance and shit. Like, they you know, like, it wasn't what it is now,
no,
you know?
The money was nowhere near the same.
So to hear them say, like, well, I wanted to be a professional basketball player, or I didn't even think to be like, there was no league. There was no NBA. The NBA was nothing. It was this small thing.
It was like an 8-team whatever league. Yeah.
The Syracuse Nets and shit. Like, this is not,
wow.
You know, so that was what was cool. And to just kind of, because I do love the NBA so much, to get that perspective on the NBA and like the respect of it, you know, but you know what they would, you know, there was coach travel. You know, they were all on the plane, you know, with the passengers.
Right.
Willis Reed, you know, like this is after they won the championship. Like they're fucking in coach. You know, or sometimes they would get bumped up to first class but it just was a different time. So to hear that, it was cool.
Do you want to go on and direct actual films or TV?
I want to do it. I want to direct. I want to do a film. I want to do a feature film, and I'll get the, you know, the real clarity and the urge and the, you know, the focus, because it takes so much. You know, the mentality is so much as important as the art of it. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to have that. You have to have that.
You have to have that focus and that drive.
That drive has to be there, and that, you know, that
passion.
You know, and because films are so different now, and the film business is so different now. Like if you're going to do a film, and you know, my first film wouldn't be a Marvel film or a DC film. It would be probably an independent film. Like you have to have that. I have to tell this story. Like I can't not do this movie. So it'll happen at some point. And right now I'm not. It's not in the forefront of my head, but I want to do it, and it's something that I think I'll get done.
What do you have on now? Do you have that you're doing? Do you have any show on Netflix or
the Netflix show? This show called Atypical, which is a good show. It's Thursdays, and then I'm back doing stand up, which I'm loving doing. Which is
and you know I'll tell you, be very honest with you, and this comes from the horse's mouth. You know, back in the day when you first started, it was just like, you know, we can't get him off the stage fast enough. The response from people that have known you that long has been like, he has gotten so good. Yeah. It's really, you know, it's a tremendous difference. Yeah. And that comes from Mark and Joanne. Yeah. And it's who have watched you for quite a long time. Yeah. What made you get back into that? The thing that I like about stand-up is that it's you know, it's so unpredictable for better or for worse. There's no rules to it. It's such a first-person medium, even though you're doing it, you know, for a response. And I feel like it's a never-ending jigsaw puzzle. Like if you look at like Dave Chappelle, who just did that Sticks and Stones special, you know, for a guy who's had high points after high points after high points, to top it with another high point, kind of the best thing that he's done out of a fucking list of great things. It just goes to show that stand-up is a never-ending art form. You know, if you are open to it and you're living your life and you know, you're never going to run out of material. But what made you go or say to yourself, I want to get back? I'll go like Judd Apatow. When he started doing stand-up again a few years ago, I asked him, I said, why are you doing this? And he said, because I need to be in front of people. I don't want to stay in the editing room and with me and the editor, and that's it. I want to be in front of people again, and that was his reason. I think for me, it's just because I think I have a lot of things I want to try to say. I want to try to articulate in a concise way, and I get off on the excitement of it, and I get off on the craft of it, and I do have reverence for it, probably because I was around it so much. And I know what it takes to be a great stand-up, and also being a fan of it. And I just enjoy the immediacy and the unpredictableness of it. That immediate feedback, you know if it's good or bad. You're right then and there. Yeah, and I know that, you know, if I keep my focus on it, you know, that I could do something, you know, that's very personal and unique. And inevitably, that's my goal for everything. It's got to be personal. It's got to be unique. Because if it's not personal, it can never be original. Yeah. That's a true thing. Like, you know, everybody's going to have their bits about, you know, politics, or everybody's going to have their bits about, you know, one thing people talk about all the time is, you know, the political correctness, but you know, you could dip into that. But the only way to separate yourself from the pack is to make it personal. Right. Right. That's the only. And I mean, unless you're like a freaky good
joke teller, you know, like Rodney or somebody like that. Like it's just jokes. That's not for me. For me, it's got to be some sort of a personal, like I have to. You have to learn something about me that's personal.
Right.
And I'm not there yet where I've gotten it down yet, but that's what I like about it. It doesn't come easy stand up.
I tell you, I said it before. I have to say it again. I'm kind of in awe listening to you because I knew you when.
Yep.
And, you know, I knew that kid.
Yep.
And listening to you now speak of the focus and the determination and the personalization of all this stuff is like, is this the same guy?
It's scary. It is the same fucking guy.
Yes,
Eddie. It's the same fucking guy. It's the same.
I know it is.
Because it's the same. It's people say, well, when did you? And I look back and I'm like, well, you can ask this person. Like I was in here, I was a fucking pain in the ass, and now I'm a 49-year-old pain in the ass. Obviously, I can control myself better, but like that part of me lives, and I think that's, what I like. The blessing and the curse of being an artist is you're able to do that.
Yes. And what I like about the things that you're saying is that everything that you talk about, be it the basketball, the acting, the stand-up, you have that passion.
Yeah.
And that's, to be good or great at something, you have got to have that passion. I don't care if you want to be a trash man or whatever. If you want to be great at it, you need to have the passion. And that's what you have in it seems like everything that you do.
I appreciate that.
I am extremely impressed, really.
I appreciate it.
And I just, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I've been trying to get you from the beginning. You're just too busy of an actor.
I've been traveling a little bit.
I know.
But I'm around now.
I want to give you a little gift.
All right.
Of one of my wonderful limited edition T-shirts.
Oh, shit.
It's...
dope.
This is you wear this proudly. You can wear it on your podcast. This is our T-shirt.
Dope.
And this
dope.
is extra large.
Dope.
I assume that's your size.
Good.
But once again, Mike, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Guys, thanks a lot for listening to us. I want to thank Mike Carano, who without this, it ain't happening. And once again, Michael Rapaport.
Thank you, Eddie. Okay.